Hello and welcome to the RedTeam Go webinar. Today we're going to cover scheduling and daily logs. I'm going to share my screen and we'll get started. Before we get started, if you have any questions, please go to the Q&A box on the list below. Type in your questions. My name is George and our Senior Implementation Specialist, Heather Haskins, is providing overwatch in the question and answer section. All right, we are in a project on the project dashboard. We're going to go over to the left side down to daily activity. So we have an option of daily logs and schedules. We're going to start off with schedules. I'm going to reset this so you can see what when you first come into your schedules, what you're going to see, what it's going to look like. So we're going to reset. These are the questions it's going to ask you. Do you want to use an existing template? Right now, we're going to say no, but we are going to cover existing templates later in this webinar. Do you want to use project codes from this project? Yes. And then yes, this is the start date. We're going to hit create and it's going to process. And it's still thinking about it. So the first thing we want to do is we've got all our cost codes here. Let's get some room to work. We've got a couple of options. We've got this arrow on the left that will remove this one column. We can hide our menu here with the blue button. And then we've got toggle full screen, which works best. So now we've got room and we can just focus on the schedule. So we pulled in the cost codes. We've got our menu across the top, and then we've got our task menu and then our calendar side. We're going to start with looking at the details, what they're called the task details. So we've got a milestone, and this is project detail. You can click in the task menu, or you can click on the icon in the calendar. Double click here, and it's going to open up our task details. As I said, this is a milestone. You can see by the icon. It's just a single date entry, so you're not going to have an end date or a duration. We have resources and a status, and we'll cover those later as well. And links are going to show up when we create our critical path. The next one is the cost code, and I'm going to open it up with the icon. So we're going to see the same thing with task details. This is grayed out because this is a cost code item, so it's going to keep the cost code here. Now you do have the option to put an alias in here if you would like, just name it whatever. A cost code and a task both have a start, end date, and a duration, unlike the milestone and the group that we're going to see later. So if you wanted to change the dates, you can do that from here. And we'll look at that again later, but you can also use it with the slider. Due date. So if you add a due date, this is different than your start or end date. This is going to be something to remind you when this is due, and it'll show up in red if we pass the due date. So this is a reminder for you to check on this cost code. Progress can be entered here. It can also be entered in the daily logs, and we're going to look at the progress, how that works in the daily logs. And then we've got our resources. So as of now, our resources are blank because we don't have anyone assigned to this specific cost code. But if I close this and go down, you're going to see that we've got some names here for concrete. It shows the name out to the side. If I click on this, either one again, it's going to have the association of the subcontractor who we have a contract with for cost codes. I'm going to get out of here. A couple of items on the top. So we have the add item. So if we wanted to create a new item in our list, we could go to add items. So we've got add cost code, which is what we have here. If we wanted to add an additional cost code, we can do that. And then we've got our custom tasks, which include milestone, group, and task. So that's how you would access any one of the 4 items that we have available. I'm going to go to add a custom task just to show you. So you're going to add a name. You know what? I want to create a custom task for this, but we're going to see it also in the templates. Give it a name. This is a task, but in this dropdown, we can create a group or milestone. Again, the milestone will be project start, project end. And then we're going to cover groups later. Give it a start date. My start date for this project is the 30th. I'm just going to put it there. Then I'm going to give it a duration of 7 days. This is going to be a route. And then I want to add it below where it's going to come in this list. I'm going to put it under the project start. So you can start typing in here. And it'll drop down to just the items of the project. So let's save this. So now we've got our task, and it covers the 7 days. So if we zoom in with, you've got the buttons up here at the top, zoom in, zoom out. We can see that it covers that 7 days. Our project start or our project end, because of the way we pulled it in, is still down here. So we can change our project date, our end date, and it'll create more space for us to work with. Click on this icon. We're going to go to the date. We're going to move this out to 28 February for right now. Now I can see all that area. Again, the planning was 7 days. So we've got 5 days here. We've got 2 non-working days. So it's extended to create our 7 days past those non-working days. Any grayed out items are going to be non-working days. You'll see that this Monday is grayed out. So if you click on the date, it's going to tell you this is Washington's birthday. We can choose to make this a working day if we need to by clicking proceed. Also on that, we've got holidays up here in the top. So if you click on this, it's going to tell you all of the holidays that are in the period between the project start and the project end. So we have Lincoln's birthday and Washington's birthday. And again, you do have the option to change these to working days by clicking on the date. So we've got our task that we created, and it's under planning. We can go to planning and see what the task details are. We can change the name here, change any duration if we need to. Again, we can save this as a due date. We can add our progress, and then this is just a task. So we're not going to associate with anybody with this one in particular. And this is not started. Let's save this. So this item is red. Again, the due date has passed, and the due date is separate from the end date. So again, the due date is just something to remind you. It's going to highlight this in red if it passes that due date, because there may be something in here that you want to take care of with this project. I'm going to save this. Up at the top, we've already covered add items. And again, I'm going to go into groups in a little bit when we pull in some templates, but I want to show you these. So link in sequence, which I cannot say 5 times fast, is going to put all of these cost codes that we have or anything that we have on here. It's going to put them in a finish to start relationship, and it's going to spread them out. Let me show you that now. It's going to give you this warning. So if you've already created some links and you've set the relationship, this is going to change them to a finish to start relationship. And here we go. It started from our task. It connected to our first cost code. Again, we've skipped over our non-working days, and we've set these up for working days. So let me add, or I'm going to go up here and remove all links as another button, and just show you what that warning means. So if I've moved this over with the slider and I go back up to link in sequence, it's going to move that back so that it's in sequence like it was before. So again, if you want to link in sequence, do this first, and then you make your changes as you go through. Or you have the option again to remove all links, and you can create them individually. So with our cost codes and our tasks, because they are multiple days, they're not limited like a milestone, which is just a single day event. You can go in and you can change it from the task details, or you can use this slider. And if you notice, I'm going to put it over Saturday, but it's not going to let me because that's a non-working day. So I would have to extend it out past Monday. If I do this one and go into the task details, and I want this duration to be 4 days, we'll see how it's going to skip over that weekend. And it's going to have 4 working days. I'm going to go over these in a minute. I want to pull in some templates so that we can see how that looks. So I'll reset this. This time when it asks me about an existing template, I do want to use a template. So I'll click yes. I'm going to type in the webinar name. So if you've got Google, it drops down and it gives you your selections. You still have to select from what's available in the list. If you don't, it's not going to pull up your webinar. So I'm going to type in this and click it. We do not want to add the project codes from this. Actually, I do want to add the project codes from this to show you what it looks like. So I'm going to say yes. We're going to keep the start date the same, and we're going to create this.
Well, that's working. We do have a question. So the question is, when I try to move the task by dragging the bar.
All right, so now we've added the template, which is the task, the groups, and the tasks that we've set out. So we've got a rough timeline of when our project is going to happen and certain events. So we've got site remediation, which is a group, and then we've got tasks below that. And then we're going to work this up. So we're going to add cost codes to this eventually as well. We've got two separate groups of cost codes. We've got some up top and then some down below that were actually part of the template. If you've got a pull in a template, it's going to add these if you've got them listed for your template. And then when you pull in the cost codes, because I did check that box, we're going to pull in all the cost codes that are not already covered in your template. So this is a good idea to do if you pull in a cost code, or if you pull in a template, even if you've got these items covered, this is going to show you any additional cost codes that you may not have caught when you were creating your template, or that you added to this job that are unique that were not captured in your template before. So I want to get rid of all these first. I'm going to click on the first one, go down to the last one that I want to get rid of on the list, and hit Shift and hold it down and click. It's going to highlight all those in between. And now I'm going to right click, and I've got the delete and duplicate option. I want to delete these items. So I do have concrete pumping up here, but it was not part of this template. So I want to bring this down. Again, it's a good idea, because if your template is, if you added a new cost code and it doesn't show up in your template, but you bring the cost codes in from that project, then something like concrete pumping is going to show up for us. At this point, we could delete these cost codes on the bottom and use this as just a rough template for our subcontractors. We could send this out with our bidding invitations so that we know, our framing guys will know somewhere between the 28th and the 8th is when we're planning on doing the rough in or the framing. And then we've got dry in, and we've got different tasks that we're going to set up. So this is just another tool that they can use to do an estimate and give you these dates. Not change that. I'm going to cancel all of these, or delete all of these items. And I want to go to, so this is how you would create that attachment that you could send out with this basic timeline. Call it new schedule. We've got the date range in here. We've got it scheduled as a Gantt chart, and I'm going to hit print. So this is going to pull up a screen in my browser, and from here I can download it and save this file. In this case, it's giving me a pop-up from Amazon. I am going to open this. No, I'm not. One other feature that we need to talk about is your save button. Anytime you make changes here in the corner on your save, it's going to start shimmering anytime you make a change. This is not an auto save feature. So when you're doing your work, you need to click save. And I recommend you save often, but we do have, as you saw, that warning to let you know before you leave this to save any work that you've created so far. Go back to print. No warning this time, so I'm good to go. Again, this is going to open up in the browser. I'll be able to view it, and then I'll have the download option as well. So this is going to separate it out into different pages. We can print them all and tape them together, post them up on a wall, or you'll just be able to view it, and we do have it broken down so you can see the days and the tasks. I would go up to this right corner and click the download button. It's going to ask me where to save this. So I'm going to save it in my training file, rename this as now I've got that as an attachment. Again, I can put it on getting invitations or anything else that I want to use, just sending out correspondence about the days that certain things are going to happen. Back. It did refresh this page, so it's asking me these questions again.
George, we do have a question.
And there we go. So now we want to start moving in cost codes because we've moved past, we've started assigning subcontractors. We've got agreements on what days they're going to be working. And I have a question.
Yes, there are two of them. I don't think anybody can hear me.
Heather, I can't find, I saw a raised hand, but I didn't see where the question came in.
So go to Q&A.
So I've got a question here. When I try to move the task by dragging the bar after link in sequence, it won't let the task move. So let me answer that. That is correct. That's what I showed a while ago. If you've got all these linked, and you'll see that it just linked the tasks. It didn't link the actual group. How would you change this? I can't make these changes because it will pop it back in place. What I have to do is click on, again, the task menu or in the calendar itself, and I have to create lag here. So you can move this out of the way so that you can see what you're working on. If I wanted to move this and it's not going to let me do it on Saturday, if I need to move this one day to the 21st, then I can create lag here. So slab work is connected to meetings and permits. So we see the connection there. Now, if I want to change that, I can add lag to this. So positive lag is going to give me a day in between, and negative lag is going to give me an overlap. So let me go to slab work, and I'm going to give it a 1 day lag. Save that, and it's going to push it back. And again, because this is a working day, it's going to push it back past the weekend. I have another question about how do we make working days, Saturdays into working days. You can't do every Saturday. I can't just select anywhere to say that every Saturday is going to be a working day, but I can go in individually on the Saturdays and click proceed, and it is going to change this to a working day. And I'm going to change these back into non-working days. And those are my two answers. Again, if you do have questions, please go to the Q&A and type in your question, and I can see raised hands as well. I'll answer those as we go along. Again, my save button is shimmering and telling me to save this. If I wanted to save these changes, I can. I'm going to go ahead and save it. And again, we're moving from our rough, just basic dates that we've got for our project. And we want to start moving cost codes into some of these, under some of these tasks, so we can identify, especially later in our daily logs, who is going to be on site and what tasks they're going to be working on at that time. I'm going to reset this. And this time I'm going to bring in the cost codes. So I do want to use a template. Click on this again. I am going to bring in the cost codes, and I'm going to keep the same start date. So we'll hit create. Again, I've got these cost codes, and these are cost codes that really don't reflect work being performed. So we want to get rid of those. And then we've got concrete pumping that we're going to move down to our list of other cost codes. Let's get rid of these again. Click here, hold shift, click the top, right click, and we'll delete these items. So I'm going to move out of the planning and meeting, and I'm going to go into our site remediation first. So we've got slab work and slab pour. I'll focus on what it is or what it's named, but just that it's a task under this group. And now we're going to start lining up cost codes. So we're going to put slab work and we're going to put concrete under our slab work. And then I want to put concrete pumping up here as well. And now we want to change these days. So even though I moved it up and I'm looking at where I want it to go, it's not here. Even though my project, my group, because I put this under the group, you'll see that my group is extended back to my start date because that's where my cost codes are. So if I click on this cost code or any item on here, it'll take me back to where that's located. It'll show me on the screen. So I've got two options here. I can just click this and slide it over. And it'll stay here. Again, I can stretch this out for the duration, or I can click into it and I want to go to the 17th of February. So I'm going to put my start date here, 17 February. And then I can add a duration. And I'll save this. So that moves it over as well. Again, if I wanted to extend this out with a slider, I can do this. And now I realize that it's actually, I need to put concrete pumping under my slab pour. So I can slide this over and I can set that up. So that is slowly moving the cost codes up, but we also have the option. So if I wanted to put a template in here where I've already got these items in, I can add that template. And again, it's going to pull in these cost codes that I've got associated with the subcontractor based on the project. So I can use a template on multiple projects, and it's going to take the information from the specific project, and it's going to assign, it's going to create a relationship between the cost code and the subcontractor that we've got assigned to that cost code. So I'll do that now. I'm going to reset. And this time I'm going to use another code, another template that I have. And on this one, I do not want to add cost codes because this template covers it. And I know for a fact I've got project concrete pumping in this one. So I'm going to click no, and the date is good. And there's a lot of information to pull in, but we got it. So now we see we've lined up, we've got our group, which covers multiple tasks. We've got our individual tasks, and then we've got our subcontractors. So when we look at daily logs in a minute, when we pick a certain day, it's going to show us the task, and it's going to show us the subcontractor that we've scheduled to be on site during that day. Before we move into that, I want to do a couple of things here. I'm going to remove a couple of these lags and show you the critical path. So right now we've got these red lines. So this is, everything is on the critical path. If we wanted to filter this, we can filter by the critical path only. Nothing's going to change because everything is on the critical path. But if I were to make some changes in the connections, so if I go to slab pour, open it up, I'm going to move this out of the way so I can see what I'm working on. I've got a connection to electrical and to concrete. So I can see electrical up here, and then concrete is down below. I'm going to get rid of this connection to slab pour to electrical. So I'll click the trash can and save it. So now I've broken this link. I've still got my filter on. So it's removed everything prior to this because since I severed that connection, those are not on the critical path now. So I'll go to filter tasks, go to all. So I can see that this is a black line now. It's not connected on the critical path. So if you see this during your work, you'll know that if you've got black lines on your connections, that it's not on the critical path. You need to look through and find where that connection is missing. And one way to do that is with your filter. Another option on this, so I do not want to just make a connection here because this is just going to push this back. It's not going to give me the lag time that I want. So let me show you that. If I just connect these together, it's going to push it back. So when I make that connection, I do need to add the lag time. So I've got electrical to slab pour, and I'm going to put -1 in there. And that's going to pull it back like it was before. So remember, that was one of the questions we talked about before. If you've got something connected with your relationship, if you've got a link on, it's not going to let you change it. It's going to snap it back into place. The way that you change that is by changing your lag. You can't have positive and negative lag. So we've got everything on the critical path. And we've got everything through to our project end. Again, we've assigned our subcontractors, and it was pulled in from our project information because we used a template. Any cost codes that we used, we're going to have the association right here. This is a material delivery. I don't have a vendor associated with that, so it's going to be my company, which is RedTeam Go. Same thing with labor. It's we're doing this in-house, so it's got my name, but then I've got drywall, and we've got Rufus Fielder here. So it is going to make that association when you pull in the template based on the project information. So we do want to save our work, and the next thing we're going to look at is our daily logs and how this interacts. So we've completed our schedule. We've got everybody in place. We've made agreements. So we want to create a baseline. We want to lock this in so that we're going to be able to see if there are any changes to our schedule. And the way we do that is go up to the top, add as a baseline, give it a name, and add. I believe this is because I had the integration off. I'm going to turn the integration on. I'm going to do that again. And this is our training site. So sometimes we do make changes in here that affect this.
Go to baselines. It will be there. You just have to.
No. I'm going to go into my baselines and fix this problem real quick. Integration on. And we've got a baseline added. So now when I go to baselines, and I go down to the one that I saved, and click on this, and then I can click compare. So this has got the dates, and we've got these yellowish lines down here below everything. So you'll see that it matches up. And if we were to have any changes on this schedule, which we're going to see when we talk about daily logs and changes, you'll notice that the yellow line is not going to be connected to the one above it anymore. It'll be moved left or right. So there'll be a noticeable difference. And this is the easy way that you can compare your baselines so that you can see if any changes have been made. I'm going to return to the schedule. We're going to come back to uploaded schedules after we do this. So we're going to go to print, and we've got print and save down here. So when we use our save function, that's going to save our uploaded schedules. When we save a schedule, it's going to be available for our superintendents in the mobile app. So they'll be able to pull it up from the briefcase or project documents in the mobile app, and they'll be able to see the schedule that we save. I'm going to save this as a Gantt chart, and then I've got the range. So I'm going to save this. It's going to give me a message telling me that it has been saved to uploaded schedules. So you see here, save to uploaded schedules. I'm going to close this. I'm going to close this. To get to uploaded schedules, we're going to go to baselines. And you'll see the tab here for uploaded schedules. And then we can open this by clicking the hyperlink. This is just going to pull up that same thing that we saw when we printed it. We've got our schedules. And then we've got our option to download or print here. I want to look at a couple of the other options in print. So we have a Gantt chart, and then we also have the calendar, and we have a report. Your calendar is going to print this out as a calendar, so it'll have 7 days in the week. It'll show you what tasks are there. The report is going to print out an Excel page with our information in columns. When you do calendar, you can choose to print it up to a 36 by 24. How many weeks do you want to do? You got the option for a single page and then our start date. And this is what that calendar looks like. So this is for 4 weeks. So you would go back, change the start date, put another 4 weeks in, and you can do it all the way through your project. My report. If I click print on this, it's just going to download. You'll see it over here in the corner. I'm going to click this open, and it's going to take me a minute to go through the don't sign me up for Excel part so that we can see this. And we've got our items. So we've got our task name over here, start date, end date, the status. And then if there's a due date, again, that due date is in the task details. If we had clicked on that and we had set a due date for anything, that would show up here, and these items would show up red. So you can use this if you have, if you want to use it for a spreadsheet anyway, you can download this and you can incorporate this into a spreadsheet. So those are our 3 items there. Up at the top, we've got add as a template. So we saw how we imported 2 different templates. One was just a rough, and then one included our cost codes. If you create something and you want to set it as a template, you'll just click this, add as a template, save it, give it a name, and click add. And then we're going to show you how to edit and change colors on those in just a minute. I'm going to click save just in case, even though it wasn't shimmering. And the next thing we're going to look at is our daily logs and how this schedule interacts with our daily logs. So I'm going to pick a date here. I know on the 17th, I've got all these people listed. And then the 21st is another good option. So I've already saved this, and I'm going to go out into daily logs. For our daily logs section, we've got a couple of options here, public or private. So if we make this public, it's accessible to anyone on the project team. If we select this as private, it's only going to be available to the project manager to view. For our settings, we've got weather thresholds. We can print the logs, we can send the logs, and we can print a weather delay. We're going to make this public. We've got our filters here. So this is all. If we had approved, not approved, or weather days, then they would show up individually in those filters. We're going to go to add a log. So looking at this, we've got nothing listed in our columns or in our rows here because of the date. We have not added anything, so nothing's going to show up. As soon as I select a date and I saw February 17th, we've got tasks and subcontractors. So I'm going to click that. And it's going to populate from my schedule. So let me go through the rest of this daily log. So we've got site conditions. If we wanted to add a rainfall amount, we can do that. I have a question real quick. Are we able to assign scheduled tasks to employees and print that list with due dates? That's a good question. I'm going to have to find out. Scheduled tasks to employees. So that would be employees within our company and lists with due dates. When I go back to the calendar, I'm going to look at that. Right now, I'm going to go through. Currently, this is the way that I would select employees on my daily log. So employees present is within your company. So in the company settings, you have the checkbox on the bottom for the roles for each employee, and you've got to check for hourly employees. If you've selected them as an hourly employee, then they're going to be available here for employees present. I'll go to add an employee. We'll add myself. It'll give me a drop down here. I'll select for Matt. Enter my hours. And then if I've got a cost code associated with that, I can select it. Same thing for equipment. If I've got any equipment present, I can add the equipment. If you add an owner vendor, that owner vendor needs to be in your contacts list. If you try to add a vendor there and it's not in the contacts list, it's not going to let you do it. Whether or not you want to put Sunbelt in your contacts list is a personal preference. You do not have to put that there. But we are going to ask for a return date. And this is going to keep a reminder so that we know that we've got to return this scissor lift on the 24th of February. Continuing down, we've got our contractors present. And again, these are based off of the cost codes from our schedule. So that's where we pulled these subcontractors from. We've got options for the number of people present. So we know that Garland Concrete had 4 people present. They all worked 8 hours. So we've got a total of 32 hours. This section is grayed out. So we've got our concrete task. And that you're not going to change this because it is associated with the contractor. Is this job start, or is this project, or is this started or completed, or do we have a proposed completion date? We're going to say this is started. We've got the 20% there because it is based on the number of days based on the calendar that it started. So if this was 5 days long and we've done 1 day, then it's going to be 20% complete. If I wanted to change this to propose a completion date, then these boxes are going to open up for me to change. So I've got a completion date that I want to propose. It was 25 before, and now it's going to be delayed by an additional day. So I'm going to put the date in there that it's going to be complete on the 27th. For this, we're going to see a warning when we close this out and save it. When we pull it back up, we'll have a yellow tag across the top to remind us that we've got something to work with here because this is potential delay. I can continue on with the subcontractors. And then down here, I've got my others present. So others present is anyone available in your contacts list. So when I click this, add others present, it's got to be somebody from my contact list. So if I've got owners or architects, can choose from there. And who's going to be present. If they're not in the contact list, you can't put them in here. You would put them in your comments notes, say the city supervisors or the city inspector showed up early, then you would put that comment down here. This has to be someone that's available from your contacts list. I'm going to delete that because I don't know Mike that well. Below our others present is our scheduled tasks. So again, we had our cost code, we had our group above everything else, and then we had the task. So on the 17th, the day that we're doing this, we've already completed our meetings and permits. If I do not select this as completed, if I just put this as started and I save this, then this will pop up on every daily log until it has actually been saved as completed. But I'm going to go ahead and put this as completed. Slab work, it's not due to be completed until the 25th. Again, we're working on the 17th here. So I'm going to have started, and then we're going to have the percentage of completion as 20% based on the days that we've been working on this. We've got these sections specified for the tasks. So if there's anything for the task, you can enter that down here. And then we got additional comments. So I recommended like others present if the inspector showed up. Then I can save those comments as well. So now I know the inspector showed up. I don't necessarily have to put them in from others present because the inspector may not be listed in my contacts, but I can identify them down here. And of course, you're open to use whatever these comments you would like to for whatever personal or internal options that you have. So you can designate these as something different. We've got attachments that we can add. So if there's anything that we want to pull files from, and we can add photos. So I'm going to add a photo. And that's going to be part of my daily log now. At the bottom, we've got save and approve. And then we've got the request for project manager approval. If I were a superintendent and created this log, it would only have save. But since I am logged in as the project manager, I've got the approval right here. So I can go ahead and approve this now, or I can just go ahead and request approval and save, which is what I'm going to do. This is going to open up for review if I need to make any changes, and I can close this. Now, because I'm in the all filter, this is going to pop up. Again, if it had been approved, it would show up here. I've got it in not approved as well. So refreshing this screen, here's the item that we talked about. So in this schedule, I proposed a change to the completion date. And this is that reminder. So it's telling me that there are changes pending. Click here to review. I'm going to do that now. When this opens up, it's going to take me to my current schedule. I've got this listed below, and this circle 1 right here is kind of pointing it out. This is the one I want to look at because this is the one pulled in from my daily logs. So I can click here. It's going to take me straight to that cost code with the new proposed date. And if I click into it here or here, now I've got what I had before, the start end date, and then it's going to list the pending changes below that. So if it increases the duration, the change, and then you can see that the new end date is on the 27th. I've got my resource here, so if I need to contact them, I can reach out by an email straight from here and find out why there's a problem. Of course, I can change this information as well, change my lags. I could reject these changes or approve these changes. And I'm going to reject these changes and say, no, we can't do this. It's going to change this back to the regular cost code, and it's going to keep the dates. It's not going to change anything for me here. Again, my save is shimmering, so I'm going to save this. And it's just saving this as my current schedule because I did not approve that selected item. I want to go back to my daily logs. So again, I don't have that item anymore because I did resolve it. I can open up this daily log and take a look at it if I click edit. In this case, I've already resolved the proposed date. So I want to go ahead and approve this. And I'll click approve here. Ask me if I'm sure I am. And it did. So let's see what it looks like when we print this out. And this is something you can send to your owner or subcontractors, anyone else. You've got the same thing, same information. We've got our weather conditions, which employees from my company, from the GC were on site, equipment, contractors. scheduled tasks. And then we've got our comments. So these are grouped together. We've got a description of our task. And then we've got that the inspector walked through. We've got our photo. And then we didn't have any attachments. Let me go back to schedules. And I still have that question. Are we able to assign scheduled tasks to employees and print that list with due dates? I don't think so, but I want to check because I know that is a resource available. So I'm going to click add items and I'm just going to add a task. And I'm going to spell it correctly. We're going to start this, just do it on the 30th. 2-day duration. I'm going to put it under planning and save this. So let's open this up. I've got my resources here. This is where I would pull in my subcontractors, and it would also have available anyone in the project team. So your project team includes your GC, project manager, superintendent, accountant, and then we've got the owner, any owner reps, architects, engineers, and our subcontractors as well. So I'm typing in Heather, who I know is an employee, and it's not pulling that in. When I pull in my name, it's giving me a couple of options here. I'm already signed in as RedTeam Go. And then the owner is contact that I created for my architect. So because I've got the name George here, it is pulling it in, but these are not owners. And let me try one more just to make sure. So it's got Chris the owner, but it doesn't have the Chris that we have in our employee list as far as the company. So for that question, are we able to assign scheduled tasks to employees and print that list with due dates? Not from here. Not listed in a resource. And I'm going to delete that. I have another question here. If you approve changing a task completion date and it has links followed to it, does that change the start date of the next link? Yes, it does. So I'm going to go into daily logs. Again, it's telling me to save this because I made changes. And let's add a new log. So on 18th, I'm going to go to the Monday after. I've got all these items. Again, you'll see that that task is changed. So I've only got slab work going on and it is ongoing. And I'm going to change this so that we're going to propose a completion date here. I'm going to change this out. And actually, these are all connected in a start to start relationship, but this last one is connected in a finish to start. So I'm going to change this one. And we'll change proposed completion date. I'm going to select the Tuesday. And we're just going to save this and request PM approval. So the PM can review this and reject or approve the changes. Again, you have to refresh this. So this is me coming back in from somewhere else. It's going to tell me I've got an item to review. I'll click here. My schedule, one that it wants me to identify, candy cane stripes. And I can see this is the proposed change and how this is going to affect it. Again, click on this, move it over so I can see what I'm working with. The original date was the 25th. The new end date is the 28th. So it's moved over to the edge here, the 28th. And if I want to approve these changes, it has changed this now. I want to save this. I want to go back to my schedule. And I want to go to my baselines. This is the baseline that I saved originally when I completed this schedule. I want to compare. And now I can go in and I can see there are changes that have been made. So again, the yellow doesn't match up with this, the group. And we can see that everything prior to that looks good. And this is where the change happened. So because we did approve that change and we moved it back from Friday to Monday, now it's thrown things back one day. We keep going through our list and we can see all the way through that we've got this change now. So our schedule, our baseline before is the yellow, and we can see that our punch list is extended one day and pushed our project one day back. Okay. Keep asking questions if you got them. I do appreciate it. It doesn't make me feel all alone in here. The next thing we're going to look at, we saw the baselines. We talked briefly about how to do a template. We've covered the print, the holidays, the filter, the progress on. So I've got the progress on. And as we saw, based on the fact that I went in and did a daily log before, it's pushed my progress up to this date. So that's where we got our 20% was based on the day that I did the daily log. It's telling me that we completed so much based on the date of the daily log. And that's how much based on the full work that we have has been completed, which is 20%. And then it's 17% down here because we've got an additional day. And that is from our progress on and our progress off. Turn the progress off. Then we're going to see that this has changed. I'm going to go to save. I don't have any questions on this section right now. What I want to do is go into our default. So I'm going to go to the profile tab up in the corner, go to administration. I'm going to open up my default settings and go to schedule templates. I've got 7 minutes left. These normally don't take an hour. What we've got here is all of our templates that we've created. This is our training site. So we've created quite a lot while we're going through the training. You may see these because I believe we have some defaults for you. Click on the hyperlink and it's going to open up what your default looks like or what your template looks like. So we've got this, we've got everything on the critical path. We pulled in all of these cost codes and we just created cost codes, but we do have items up at the top. For our general conditions, we've stretched these out. So this, if I pulled this into a project, it would give me the same length, the same duration here. It would skip over whatever non-working days I have to stretch this out to the same duration. I can make changes in here and it'll save this. So I don't have to go back in, open up a template in a project and make the changes and save it as a template. I could go in and make changes here the same way. So if I wanted to change the lag, -1 here. And now it's going to save my changes once I click save. Same options here, link and sequence, remove task, toggle full screen. I'm going to save this and go back out. And then the next thing I want to show you before we close this out is the options for colors. So we've got manage Gantt styles here. Click on this. And these are the items. So we have the group that we can create. We had task, custom or cost codes, and milestones. So these are the 4 items that we have in there. You can change the colors on these. Material is going to be your cost code. If it is an M cost code, then it will be a separate color than the rest of your cost codes. We don't separate it any more than that. So all of your other subcontractor cost codes, L, S, items like that are going to be whatever cost code color you choose. But material items, and we're assuming this is going to be a delivery, so it's got an additional color that you can add to it. So material items you can separate as a color, but the rest of the cost codes are going to be whatever color you select here. And our milestone, and then the progress is what we saw, so that if you've got your progress turned on, that this color is going to cover up your group, tasks, and cost codes. You can change the background color. So this is the bar. This is the text that's inside that bar. And then this is what's around it. So let me go into here and show you. We've got this option, and you've got this little dropper. So you can go anywhere and highlight over an item and select it. It'll change it to that color. You can also enter the numbers down here. So we've got our RGB, we've got a hex option as well. So you can enter numbers, or you can choose from the color. And I'm going to choose this one for right now. Then we can save that. I did have one question from a customer who wasn't going to be able to make it today, and they asked about that specifically. So the material cost code, you can designate a task. If you create a custom task, just like we saw, we gave it a name. You can give it a name, and you can include material delivery, but it's not going to change the same color as a material cost code. So I hope that answers that question for them. I don't see any more questions in the Q&A. Just a quick review. We've covered the schedules today, which is in daily activity. We created a schedule. We used templates. We saw that we can use templates for an existing project, and it will pull in project information. So it's going to create an association with our cost code and our subcontractor. We can go to daily logs, and when we pull up a daily log, if we've got our integration on, then it's going to pull in this information based on the day from this schedule, and it'll load up the subcontractors and the tasks that are assigned to that day. And we can make arrangements. We can schedule a new projected completion date. We can enter the information about the subcontractor who was there, what was done. We can add comments. And then we've got the baseline that we created, so that we can always come back and compare if anything has changed on our job with the compare button. And again, we did make those changes here. So if we need to in the future, we can see how that we can make up for that one day. Maybe we need to move these back, but until we make those changes, it's going to look like this. That's all we have for today. Hope y'all learned something from this. Send us any questions you have. Before we leave, just want to remind you that we do have in the Learning Center our webinars. So we've got the recordings listed here. We've got our upcoming sessions, and you can register by going to the upcoming sessions part. We just completed our scheduling daily logs, and the next one is on the 17th. If you open this up, it's going to give you a registration page, and we hope you'll join us then. Thank y'all and have a great day.